Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar, I want you to get familiar. This is Ebro. Laura and Rosenberg are on assignment, but we have Mickey Guyton joining the program today. One of the ambassadors, the new faces of country music right now, and making sure I've talked about it many times on the air. If you follow our program about the reclaiming of country music, a space that was helped form by Black Americans originally, but kind of excluded us for many generations. And now, fast forward, there's so many artists having tremendous success. Mickey Guyton, one of them. How are you this morning?
I'm doing so good. It is so great to meet you and be on this program, and what you're doing is just so amazing. So thank you.
Well, I want to say first and foremost, give you your flowers for just being at this moment in history,
Thank you.
and being brave, and doing this work to make sure that Black folks are represented in country music. I mean,
Yeah.
oftentimes I feel like it's unfortunate that race has to be tied to the conversation, but
Yeah.
we didn't pick it. We didn't make it this way. We just inherited
No.
it, and it's necessary, right? Because there's still exclusion tactics that take place,
Hmm.
and also kind of a culture where we're just not expected to be seen.
Yes.
Do you feel
Correct.
that in your work today?
Every single day. Yes. Still. Yes.
Tell us professionally how you're dealing with it, which I think is separately from personally how it affects you.
Yes.
So let's start with the professional side.
Professionally, you just have to continue finding different ways to continue your path forward, because in our world and in the music industry, as you know, there's so many different avenues of discovering and finding music, and it's really building from the ground up. And a lot of people still don't really realize how many amazing Black country artists are in the genre, and it's so important that we still continue paving our own way forward and finding our own crowds. So it's very on the ground, like you can't rely on radio, you can't rely on you know a certain specific path, because there's a formula in every format, right, of
Yeah.
how you make it. And country radio has a certain formula, but that doesn't necessarily fit us. So you're still telling you, this is a uncharted territory, and you're finding your own path, your own way.
Do you
And
do you feel, just briefly, do you feel embraced by the creators of country? Because I often hear like Nashville and the people who write and create are different than
yes,
the media, sometimes the markets and consumers and these other things. It's two different worlds.
absolutely. There's so many amazing creators in Nashville that are some of my dearest, closest friends. I hold their babies, I send them gifts for Christmas, all of those things. There's a lot of that. There's also a lot that aren't so great, but for the most part, it's a lot of amazing, incredibly open and wanting to be part of the change people in that community.
And also, for the audience, it should be noted that women in country music have had a tough time as well, right? So there's a
1000%.
lot of chauvinism
Not
as well as racism.
absolutely. If you go on media based country right now, I'm going to go in here right now. Let's give a little
And so
education.
media bases for the audience is what tracks
Yes.
airplay on radio stations nationally. So she's logging in, likely to count the number of women that even have songs in the top 20.
Okay. So in the top 10, there is one woman, Dasha.
Mm.
In the top 20, there is a woman on a duet.
And that's based
Top
on
40,
radio exposure,
yes. So
not
out of the
sales.
correct, out of the top 40, I see one a duo, that's a female duo. So there's one, two, three, four solo women in the top 40, and a duo and a duet.
Now, personally, how does this affect you? Because now we've layered in the chauvinism aspect and we've layered in the racism aspect. How do you, on a day to day, cope with these headwinds?
Listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. It is very, very hard because what happens, like, it's a chain reaction, right? The less women that make it in country music, there's less tours for less major tours for women.
Hmm.
And often women, like, especially me, I specifically look for other women on a tour because I want to make sure that I'm paying it forward and allowing other women to have a chance to build their own careers. So the less tours are available, the less opening slots are available for other opening acts and other women. It's just a chain reaction. It's extremely hard, and this is something that has been going on for decades. It's not like it just started with me. This has been something that's been going on for a very long time. I don't have the answers for it, but it's very, very frustrating and very, very hard.
Um, working in media, there's always what the audience responds to.
Right.
And I think if we were to zoom away from entertainment and the music industry and these things and look at ourselves socially, right?
Yes.
We
Yes.
even we see some of these same problems in sports.
Yes.
We see the same problem happening right now in politics.
Yes.
So this is it's not necessarily always an indictment of country music as much as
No.
it is an indictment of our society culturally, right?
Exactly. I'm so glad you're saying that, Ebro. Absolutely. It's across the board. That's why I wrote a song called What Are You Gonna Tell Her back in 2020. It was a song directly discussing these topics about, misogyny and chauvinism and anti women. And that was what this song was about. Is like, what are you going to tell your daughter, that little girl that's growing up, that the world is not fair for you? So
Hmm.
yes.
Do you? I guess I gotta go a level deeper here, because I know
Oh
you have
man.
a very supportive family and a very supportive husband who's your
Yes.
backbone. I mean, you guys have been together, and he's fighting right by your side.
Absolutely.
And so I'm sure that makes getting up and going to battle every day a lot easier.
Absolutely. I have an incredible husband who has been there with me every step of the way. He's the one that encouraged me to step outside of the box of what country music is, because for a long time I was trying to make country music like specifically for what that is.
Hmm.
Like I was trying to sing that type of country music, and my husband said, country music is three chords and the truth, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, why aren't you writing country music from your own actual experiences as a Black woman living in America? Who's to say that that isn't country music? And it just like blew my mind. He said, lean into who you are as a Black woman. And I was like, whoo, you're right.
Yeah.
I will.
And have you seen an audience build? Have you been able to build a more robust community by telling
Yes.
your truth that much
Yeah,
more?
absolutely. One thing that I remember doing shows in the past, like I didn't see very many Black people. And that was you know, like, where are they at?
Yeah, where
Like,
are
I'm
we?
here for you,
Right.
where are we at? And I remember, like, each time that I've come back, there's more and there's more. And even when I was, when I found my success with Black Like Me, I was literally about to quit country music. Like, that
Mm.
was my end point. And I remember meeting a country artist named Brittany Spencer, who is on the Cowboy Carter album. And we were at this coffee shop in Germantown in Nashville called Red Bicycle. And I remember I said, Brittany, like, I don't know if I have it in me to fight anymore. But what I want to do is make sure I find as many Black country artists as I possibly can and make sure I try to help them get in this industry, because we are here and our dreams are valid. And I just want to at least help them,
Mm.
because it's not enough for just one person to make it. It's not enough for
Hmm.
it to just be Charlie Pride or Darius Rucker or Kane Brown. Like, there needs to be a plethora of Black country artists from all walks of life making it in this genre for us to really see change.
I'm glad you brought up Cowboy Carter. I was going to ask you what kind of impact that had on you as an artist and other Black country artists. I know it didn't receive any country music awards or even nominations, which didn't surprise me because Beyonce said it's not a country album, it's a Beyonce
Yeah.
album. And,
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of, for the audience, there's a lot of politics. Nashville has to accept you, right?
Yeah.
Nashville has to give you the thumbs up and say, yes, this is a go. And I don't think Beyonce played that game.
No, she did.
But from your perspective, how did this Cowboy Carter impact?
It the Cowboy Carter made a huge impact. Now, I hope this impact is long lasting. That's something that I've definitely been concerned about because, when Cowboy Carter was released, all it forced she has such a massive fan base. Like
Hmm.
it's unimaginable how big it is. And it brought all those eyes onto country music. And therefore, her audience started looking for Black country artists. And some of these Black country artists that she was starting to look at had lost their record deals,
Mm.
radio deals, all these things. So a lot of these artists were really struggling, and it impacted them in such a beautiful, beautiful way. It brought so many eyes. Like going to CMA Fest this year, I ain't never seen this many Black people at the CMA
So
Fest
they were showing up.
ever.
They were showing up.
Yes. And that like it proved my theory. Like if we just know that we're here, we will show up. But if
That's
we
right.
don't know that we're here, what's our incentive to show up? And it was just beautiful to watch. Mia over at CMA Fest has been, or over at CMA's has been a huge advocate for trying to find different ways to give Black people opportunities as we're still figuring out the landscape of country music and inclusion. But it has been very, very impactful. But the true test is, will it still stay? Is it lasting?
Well, I think there was phenomenal music on the album. I think that
Yeah,
because I feel like the album was a history lesson of great
yeah,
songs, of showing
yes.
how Black American music fits together.
Amen.
And it was a history lesson of country music with
Yeah.
people learning about Linda Martell and
Nobody knew about Linda Martell.
right, and so there was just aspects of the album, or even the story behind the Carter family, not Beyonce, the Carter family, but
Yeah.
the Carter family that went door to door and was taking Black music and turning it into the original country songs that were the foundational songs for country music, and those were taken from Black households
Yep.
and turned into recorded country music because Black people couldn't record at that time.
Yep. Yep.
And so, it was I think the album was very well done, and I think Beyonce hit it out of the park with her intention, which
I agree.
was to make people think, help people learn, and show the world what an artist at her level can do to contribute to Black music. Full
Yes.
stop.
Here.
So,
Period.
I don't vote in the Grammys, but I've definitely talked about this being album of the year for that reason. Because at the
Absolutely.
Grammys, it's not about sales. It's about
It is.
craftsmanship. It's about
Exactly.
purpose. It's about
Hmm.
these,
Intention.
intention, right? And so let's see if they show up.
That is where I've been talking to Prophet over at BMAC, and I'm just like, how do we make sure that the voters know how important this is, like for history and for history, period. Full
Mm.
stop. Like you said, it's such an important album in that right. And just for Linda Martell alone, for the artists that are featured on that album alone, this has to be a moment for Black artists and Black country.
Well, yeah, like you said, people like Linda Martell who were ridiculed, called the N word, not allowed to perform places, ostracized, and
Yeah.
abused by a society that wanted to treat Black people a certain way just because of our skin color, not
Yeah.
not for any other reason. Um,
Yes.
Mickey, how did you end up in country music? How did this become your passion? Where are you from?
I'm from Waco, Texas, or Crawford, Texas.
Yep.
And I didn't, listen to country music until my church went from Waco to Arlington to a Texas Rangers baseball game. And we were sitting in the nosebleed section, and the announcer says, "Please rise," as 10-year-old Leanne Rhymes sings the national anthem.
Mm,
And I remember being all the way in the nosebleed section and just thinking, I didn't think about her being a country artist. I just thought, wow, she has such a beautiful voice. And that was at the time, you know, in the 90s where there's so many incredible vocalists, period,
Right.
and across the board from whether it was Whitney Houston to Faith Hill and from all different genres. And from there, I just fell in love with Leanne Rhymes, but I also listened to Brandy and Monica.
Right.
So I always wanted and loved country music, but it wasn't until I was living in LA, going to school at the time, and I was doing demos for this woman who wrote Bring It On and Stick It, and she was making a book at the time. So I was singing demos for her, and she said, Mickey, she was like, do you sing country music? And I was like, as a matter of fact, I do. And she was like, well, why don't you sing it professionally? And I was like, well, there's literally nobody there. Like, who would want to hear from me as a Black woman? Like, who would want that? She goes, well, I really think that you should pursue that. And honestly, the stars were aligned. I met a DJ, a hip hop DJ who knew this producer that did Glenn Campbell's last record. And I started making country music in LA, which is so funny. So it kind of found me, to be honest.
Hey, listen. Sometimes it's what do they call that? It's meant to be. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? The
it
universe
is.
aligned it for you. God gave you a purpose, and bam,
Yeah. Yeah.
here you are. Mickey
Yeah.
Guyton, thank you for your time today.
Thank
Thank you
you
so
so much.
much. Let's
It's been
let's play Black Like Me. Let's play that record. What else you want to play today?
I definitely want you to play my new single House on Fire. But if you want some thought-provoking song, it's deep, it's really heavy, but what are you going to tell her? That is addressing
Yeah.
um the misogyny and chauvinism in country music.
And
So, or in the world.
challenging the patriarchal structure
Yes.
to look at your daughter in the face and tell
Yeah.
her.
Fight for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mickey Guyton, thank you for your work.
Thank you so much.
And
I
it's a
really
pleasure
appreciate
meeting
it.
you. And the
Thank
next
you.
time you're in New York, let's definitely try to get you by the studio.
I would love that. I would love that.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon.